Hey everybody, Michael Snyder, Pacific Northwest Weather Watch. Today is April 9th, and right now we are looking at the infrared satellite imagery. Here comes our next storm system, spinning up off our coastline, and you can see it spreading some high clouds across the region right now. A few showers out and about, mainly across Vancouver Island, but for the most part, much of the region is going to get a dry day today, and for a portion of the day tomorrow before this frontal system rolls in and brings an increase in the winds and the rainy activity here. And then this storm system is going to move across British Columbia and on into this week, and it brings some chillier air with it, and maybe an impactful storm, especially for some of the Intermountain West. We'll take a look at that briefly as well, and we'll take a look at what is to come after that in the extended forecast as always. And you see that right there. It looks like a lightning strike occurred right across Vancouver Island. So I don't know if I have any viewers in the interior portions there. Most people live along the coastline. But yeah, we had a few showers out there, out and about, maybe some of the North Puget Sound area there, or up towards the straight north of the Puget Sound, Northwest Washington. But yeah, we have a mainly dry day otherwise coming up today. There's some sunshine out there to be had, and enjoy that, and enjoy the first part of tomorrow, because the next round of rain is definitely on its way. And if you want a nice affordable home weather station, click on that link down below to save 10% off. You can view this thing on any web page or smartphone, lightning detection system. You will not regret it. Now, looking at lightning strikes yesterday, even though we had several rounds of some pretty heavy rainfall, and then some sun breaks and additional rounds of showers coming across the region, we only had the one lightning strike, it looks like, across southwest Washington, but we had 1, 2, 3 prolific lightning producers there across eastern Washington. A little bit of lightning activity across portions of Oregon yesterday. This is lightning strikes over the last 24 hours. And this is Spokane National Weather Service talking about that system here this upcoming weekend. So that's all the way into the weekend coming up. But we do have, some relatively nice weather coming up here today, tomorrow, and through Friday until that next system starts to arrive. Always the good graphics there from Spokane National Weather Service. Gale watch here, you can see for the Washington coastline. This is the next storm system coming up here. Not much going on elsewhere, but you can see we do have the winds going to be increasing as we go through tonight. And I would consider this up the Vancouver Island and all the way down through the Oregon coast as well. And again, they do mention that late tonight through Thursday afternoon, you see the south winds picking up to 35 plus knots and seas 8 to 10 feet possible. And this is a nice graphic here from National Weather Service, Missoula, Great Falls, Billings, and all those areas out there across some portions of the Intermountain West, Montana, and Idaho. This storm system could be fairly impactful, and they do talk about these impactful storms mid-April through early May. So I thought I would show this graphic here because, I have viewers out here across Idaho and western Montana as well. So this one's going to come rolling in. We'll take a look at that here in the weather models in a moment. So this is the same storm system and trough that will be impacting areas across western BC, western Washington, western Oregon as we go through tomorrow afternoon. And if you want to help support the page, check out the Patreon link down below. I have a lot of people that request to use Patreon, so I've been doing my updates here. And in between my daily videos, I'll probably be posting most of the update activity here. So check that out if you would. Now, taking a look at the European model here. So where are we right now? Well, this is the jet stream at about 30,000 feet. And you can kind of see this bulge here. This is the ridge that's giving us our decent weather and drying us out a bit here today and for portions of tomorrow. But again, you can see the frontal system as we go through Thursday kind of pushing in western portions there. And then you can see the trough associated with it. And it's going to be coming across as we go through the weekend. And that's that impactful storm for portions of the interior as well. Then another ridge here as we go through the weekend on in through early next week. Could even be a bit of a thermal trough. I'll show you what I mean by that here in a moment. But then we've got the next Gulf of Alaska low out there. How fast is that going to push east? Is that going to amplify and keep us some ridging here through the midweek period? We'll take a look at that in the extended forecast in a moment. But first things first, this is the storm system we're dealing with now. Again, just some wrap-up showers in the meantime. Relatively dry day today. We're now into Thursday morning. You see the low pressure system developing there. It's got a pretty decent pressure gradient with it, and that's why the gale watches are in effect there, or the gale warnings, I forget which. But nonetheless, doesn't matter. The winds are going to be increasing as we go on in through the day tomorrow. You see the low pressure pushing up towards Haida Gwaii or the Queen Charlotte Islands. And then the frontal system associated with that comes rolling in here as we go through the afternoon tomorrow. Some higher elevation snowfall for the Cascades of British Columbia, a little bit for the higher peaks down into Washington. But then as this trough is hanging out and swinging through, we keep some of the showery weather ongoing. And you can see we get a bump in the snowfall amounts as we go through Saturday for some of BC, Washington Cascades as well. And then there goes this frontal system across portions of Idaho Panhandle, western Montana, and Montana here, and you get some higher elevation snowfall. And again, I showed that Weather Service graphic that talks about these impactful storm systems. So again, if I back that up, this really starts to impact things as you go through the morning on Saturday, be hanging on during the day Saturday. And by Sunday, you still got some of this colder air around and some mountain snow going on. Finally, that system starts to kick off to the east on Monday. And also, you notice that here across much of the region, we have dried out a bit here as we go through the day Monday. And I'll show you more on that here in a moment. A little bit of a warm-up is possible as we go through the end of the weekend and on in through early next week. So here's the North American model short term. And again, you can see the low-pressure system up there tightening our gradients off the coastal waters there. Frontal system rolls through as we go through the day tomorrow. So taking a look at the precipitation, composite reflectivity, and again, just a few wrap-up showers today. And then we go on in through tonight into tomorrow morning. And you see the day's going to start out fairly decent, but then by the time you get towards the noon hour, there's the frontal system impacting southwest BC, Vancouver Island, coastal areas here. And by the time you get towards 1, 2 o'clock, you're going to have the rain starting for Seattle, Portland, Willamette Valley, pushing into the Cascades here as well. The front loses some of its punch here, but it does bring some precipitation east of the mountains also. And you notice some of this activity as you go through Thursday afternoon and evening. Could get a lightning strike out of that, some convergent zone activity, low-level winds wrapping around the Olympic Mountains. They're helping to amplify that convergent zone activity as we go on in through Thursday afternoon and Thursday evening. Now, I can show you that here as well. So we're looking at winds in the meantime here as we go through the night tonight, afternoon and night. Some of these east winds be a little bit on the gusty side, nothing too crazy. But then the southerlies start to arrive here as we go through the day Thursday and the blustery conditions. And you can kind of see at about 3,000 feet or so here, you can see these winds kind of wrapping around the Olympic Mountains. That's what kicks off some of that convergent zone activity. But of course, as that trough swings through, you're going to get some gusty winds on the east slopes of the Cascades as we go on in through Thursday afternoon, evening, and mainly Thursday night, and then on into Friday morning. Now, taking a look here, the European 100-meter wind speed, a little bit wider view here, and you can see the storm system, frontal system pushing up as we go through tomorrow, and then we'll have the trough hanging around. And you can see as we go through the day Friday, let me see when those westerlies pick up on the east slopes of the Cascades. Mainly Thursday night, a little bit there, and they kind of stay elevated as we go on in through Friday night, as that storm system and the trough will be hanging across the Intermountain West. But then as we go through the extended forecast, you can see how we've turned things offshore here. These are offshore winds coming down the coastline there, and that's what's known as a thermal trough. This ridge built over the top of us. We could get some of that warmer air aloft and start to warm things up as we go on in through the early portion of next week. First things first, I want to show you the wind speeds with this next system. It shows Seattle at 32, maybe gusts in the upper 20s for Portland, so not a very strong frontal system here, but you could get some gusts into the lower 40s as we go through the day tomorrow evening especially, and some stronger winds there for Vancouver Island, some gusts up over 50, 55 miles per hour, probably mid 40s, maybe up towards 50 at best for the Washington coastline there. And we scroll through there and you can kind of see that on Saturday, some of these gusty east winds coming across the Cascades as well. So back to the thermal trough here. So looking at the European on the left versus the GFS on the right. So there goes our next frontal system there. It brings up its warm tongue, typical of a mid-latitude cyclone. And then we get the cooler air aloft arriving behind that. This is about 5,000 feet. And we're looking at temperature anomaly with the colors. And you can also see the wind speeds there at 5,000 feet. So there goes the trough and the impactful system rolling across this weekend. But in the wake of that, we build the ridge and we start to kick things offshore. And you can see the GFS and the European both show that. And you can see this warmer air aloft start to ride back up over the region. And then we scroll off in towards Monday night. You see the European definitely keeps the ridge around longer than the GFS starts to bring these westerlies and starts to chop back into the ridge as we go on in through Monday night, fall into the following week coming up here. So yeah, we could have a couple decent days coming up towards Sunday, Monday, maybe Tuesday time frame, again, depending on how long this ridge hangs on. And if we look at 925 millibars, so you'll see the frontal system, there it is, and then you'll see the cooler air aloft arrive behind that as we go through this weekend, impacting some of the region here with some chillier air aloft and ongoing showers. But then again, as we go on in through Monday, you can kind of see that warmer air ride up. That's what's known as that thermal trough right there. These offshore winds help to develop that, the ridge aloft, and that would bring some nice weather on in through next week. Taking a look at the extended forecast now, as we go on in through, of course, the system coming up there, and then the showers continue continue on in through Saturday. That kicks off. And then you can see we dry out a bit here as we go through the first portion of next week. By the time we get towards Wednesday, the European Artificial Intelligence wants to bring a very modest system there. That's not a lot of rainfall associated with that one. It may be a decent day on Thursday, but then by Friday, another system rides up there. Not overly strong, but that one would be well placed. And we'll continue to watch those systems as we go on in through next week, searching for some nice weather or some stormy weather, depending on what exactly the models start to show as we go through the extended forecast. And also want to show this here as we go on in through the upcoming weekend. Most of the snowfall across the Cascades is falling on Friday night into Saturday morning. You can see it does show a few inches for Snoqualmie and Stevens Pass as we go on in through the day Saturday here. Bigger impacts across British Columbia, Alberta, the Rocky Mountains and whatnot. A little bit of snow making its way down into the Oregon Cascades, but not nearly as much as the Washington Cascades and some of the higher terrain of British Columbia. And total precipitation in inches. So we'll scroll through it and you can kind of see the frontal system throws quarter of an inch at Seattle. By the time we go through Thursday night, lesser amounts for the Willamette Valley, bigger amounts for Western BC and Vancouver Island. And then we scroll off in towards the weekend and then we warm up and dry out a little bit there. So yeah, we'll see how that goes. Now, daily max 2 meter temperature here. Tongue twister. You can see today, not too bad. We're getting lower 60s maybe for Seattle, 63 for Portland. You can see some mid and upper 60s there for Eastern Oregon. Look at Treasure Valley down towards Boise. You're talking about upper 60s as well. And you can see a little bit of a warm up for some of the Okanagan River Valley. There's some of the interior valleys of British Columbia, but you can also see the chillier temperatures across the higher terrain there. So we scroll back in towards Thursday. And again, start off the day pretty nice across the region. Look at Seattle, maybe warming up to 65 degrees. Relatively speaking, compared to March and whatnot, February and March, it's going to feel nice. We did have some warm days recently, but anytime it gets into the 60s this time of year, I do enjoy that. You see some 70s even popping up for some of the valleys down into Western Oregon. Look at that, some mid 70s possible for Eastern Washington, Eastern Oregon. That's again for tomorrow, Thursday. And there's Friday. You can see that frontal system cools things off quite dramatically. The west of the Cascades, probably by about 10 degrees or so. And then we go to Saturday, Sunday, Monday, we start to warm things back up again here. And if that thermal trough continues to show, of course, these temperatures could get bumped up even more. Maybe we'll hit a 70-degree reading again here for some places, and you can see it showing up there for Western Oregon also. Then we go to Tuesday, Wednesday, who knows? We'll see what frontal system is in store for us after that. Now, looking at the 15-day precipitation anomaly, or a sharp cutoff there. Again, kind of been typical over the last few days, but it does show that below normal signal here as we go through about April 23rd upcoming. So, yeah, we'll see how that continues to trend. If we take a look at avalanche.org, just a reminder, if I update that, we still have some considerable and some moderate avalanche danger. You can click on any one of these locations. If I click on that one, that's Stevens Pass. You can click and go to the forecast, and you can see the elevations, and it tells you the risk, and it gives you the bottom line there. And they don't mince words here as well. They'll tell you when these avalanches are dangerous, and they tell you what to do and what to look for. There's a forecast discussion, and they've got snow levels and all kinds of good stuff here. So you can kind of see Wednesday morning versus Wednesday afternoon. The snow levels do bump up here as we go through Wednesday night. That warm air aloft in front of that next system coming in there is the reason for that. So 6 to 10 day temperature outlook. This goes through April 18th. Look at that below normal signal there. They kind of changed things up a bit here for some of the Pacific Northwest. Maybe some of that ridging here in our extended. And the 8 to 14 day tiny sliver there across Northwest Washington. And the below normal signal continues through April 22nd. And take a look at the snowfall amounts there, snow water equivalent, I should say. We're not doing that hot across Western Washington, much better across Oregon. Some of Southern Idaho's doing pretty well also. And a little bit below normal here across a lot of Western Montana, some of the Idaho Panhandle, and up into British Columbia has also been below normal as well. And that matters as we go on in towards the summer months, because any drought or any fire season across British Columbia can really impact places across Washington, Oregon, Idaho, and Montana, depending on prevailing wind direction here. So you don't like to see fires across British Columbia. I mean, in past years, we've gotten some pretty big amounts of smoke from Canada. And of course, the flip side can be true. The USA, we can affect Canada also. But looking at the significant wildland fire potential outlook, you can see the Pacific Northwest kind of targeted here as we start to move into the summer months. Supposed to be above normal conditions. I'll probably be doing another La Nina / climate video here coming up as we go on in through the summer, the fall, and the winter months to see where we're going to be as far as El Nino is concerned, and take a look at the Climate Prediction Center's latest predictions on where we're going to be through the upcoming summertime, fall, and into the following winter. So anyway, hope you guys are having a good day. Otherwise, click like and subscribe. We will do this all again tomorrow, and I will talk to you guys then.